We are live. We are nationwide. Hi, yes, hello. Welcome to the Place of Wrath and Tears. It is a KULT Divinity Lost actual play podcast, Twitch stream. And, well, if you're here, you know what we do. And we're going to do a bunch of it tonight. Tonight is going to feature lots of violence. There is... David is going to get some, we plan on giving David some enrichment in his enclosure, so that's going to be, as always, pretty violent. And, yeah, we're also going to probably end up talking a little bit about the Red Intermission, so if you're not caught up on that and you don't want to be, you're going to get spoiled. Sorry, not sorry. But, yeah, let's, we ready to go, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to do our starting rolls?
Yeah, let's do our starting rolls.
Yeah.
It has been a long weekend, folks, and we are all crispity crunchity.
Thank you. Are you helping? Thank you.
$15 on nightmares, so I'm solid.
Say that again, Elon.
I said 15 on nightmares, so solid on that.
Good.
Okay. I got a 17 for 6 cents, and I have to gently math about.
Yeah.
Because it's at -2. It's 11, so it's 11. So it's
okay.
Middling, not terrible.
Not as bad as it could be.
Not as bad as it could be.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we'll spool that schizophrenia up as we leave the building.
Sounds good.
Okay. Good, because I need a bit of descriptive horror prose.
Happy.
So, right now, Clara is following show business. It involves chasing down a lot of leads and talking to a lot of people, rubbing a lot of elbows, looking at a bunch of buildings that are very uninspiring at noon in harsh fluorescent lights. And for now, Clara is doing some of that unthrilling preparatory work for the stage show that she's been dreaming about. And Clara will either be back or she will not, depending on Erica making good choices for herself, for which we love her. So, but Matthew and Bethany are here, and you guys are currently in the suite of your hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About probably around dinner time, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we might have just finished up, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're going to need to do something about David. He's been restless.
Well, we keep telling him there might be a need, and then there isn't. And that's unfair.
I'm not saying I'm surprised that he's restless. But I'm trying to find I want to say the less blunt way of putting this. And he will actually look around because, like, he knows that David has, like, some level of, like, heightened senses. But there's sort of a thing of, like, trying to see of, like, how close is David? You're muted.
I have every confidence that Matthew had at least a plan to have part of this conversation at this point, and has sent David out for cigarettes or something, or just like, go get us something that means you're not here for 20 minutes.
Yeah, because that's very much sort of like, he's like, I need to be blunt about David, and I don't want to do it in front of David.
Fair.
I'm concerned that he might need murder like you need souls.
I hadn't thought of that. I don't know.
It doesn't seem... And there are two things that I'm saying this for. One, that it's not simply a desire, but a need.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he's been getting more and more restless, and the way that we know he has changed, that we've seen that he's changed, makes me lean towards that this is more of a need than a simple desire. But also, my concern is if small incremental amounts, such as taking him to go fight like we're going to tonight, hopefully, would be helpful to at least partially sate what he needs.
Well, if it's like souls, is it murder or violence that he needs? Because
that's the question.
A whole person's soul.
So I think that if it's violence, that's a lot easier to deal with.
Yes.
I'm not sure how to figure that out, other than I guess seeing if this helps.
Yeah. If this helps, then yes, then it's not murder. And if it doesn't help, then we need to start making a list of people we would like to go away, because if David is going to kill people, it should be people we need to leave.
Yes. The good thing is that we have probably a good amount of people to put on a list like that.
Yeah.
So it's doable. I'm hoping it's the former than the latter, though.
It'd certainly be easier. That means he can't kill whomever he fights in the fight club, though, because then we won't know the answer.
It also would probably make it so that we couldn't go back to the fight club if we keep doing that.
Yeah.
If it's going to make us. I remember from especially after last time where it almost happened, where we need to not become known as the people who no one wants to fight against because they will die.
Fair.
It's not that the viewers would mind, it's that the fighters would.
Unless they've been properly incentivized.
Possibly, but that's something for down the road.
Yes. Yes, if it's violence, it's less complicated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's been something off about him lately?
I don't know if there's been something off, or just... I think that he evolved while we were gone.
That's a better way of putting it, I suppose.
He was always becoming something else. I think he's just further along than we expected.
we're going to need to talk to him about it eventually.
Yes, that would be useful.
Did the Red Lady tell you anything?
Matthew?
I'm asking.
She's asleep. And has been asleep since we came back. So I haven't had a chance to talk to her. And also, I'm just going to point this out right now, but the amount of time I've physically been in her presence where the two of you have not been with me has been about 10 minutes.
Bethany, we have literally traveled to Metropolis in our sleep. If she's dreaming, that doesn't necessarily mean communication isn't happening. I don't think that you're withholding. I don't think that you're withholding anything, but it's worth asking.
Matthew. We've had very little privacy, and that we have is private.
All right. Then we'll ask David what happened. Maybe when he's in a good mood after the fight.
That might be wise.
Yes.
Okay. Right? Seems like it shouldn't be hard to get him in or anything. Like everyone seemed to expect that David would come back to the fights. Like the mob.
And remember,
the
mob doctor, after he came in and checked on Clara, actively invited David back. He did the whole, like, we're gonna see you again, buddy.
Exactly.
So clearly,
we know
that is the clearly people seem to be interested in seeing him there again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to make some calls.
Okay.
So that we can set things up. When David comes back with the cigarettes while I'm doing that, can you talk to him about that we're doing it so that he knows?
Sure. Yes, I can tell him.
Perfect. They're dividing and conquering.
Yes. So what phone calls do you want to make? Because I feel like that would be easier to handle first.
He's gonna basically be making the calls of like getting. He doesn't just want to get David into the fights and like make his bets. He wants to put David up against the best fighter they have because he knows David.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're trying to see whether or not David needs violence to like do this, right? We need to have him have a good fight, not just one where it's just, one and done.
Yeah.
So he wants someone who can give David a challenge and someone that maybe can recover easily. He doesn't put it that way, but everyone saw David fight last time.
Yeah.
So like he's basically is like, I want someone that will that will give a real show. And that will cause people to actually be able to gamble.
Now, I am going to remind you of something that Matthew would remember, but Elon might not, because this happened like 14 and a half years ago in our continuity.
Yeah.
The Westsmiths were overseeing those fights. They were directly involved in the administration of that. So you can call your new lord.
Oh, that's so good. I did forget that.
And network with them.
Yeah. So I will definitely call my lord and basically talk to her so that she can use her puppet to do whatever is necessary. And also basically check in with her, and because he's talking to her, he can actually be a lot more blunt about, we want someone who can recover because it's David.
Yeah.
Like he's like I don't want someone who's fragile.
How about you roll? Do you have influential friends?
Yeah, I do.
How about
I
you
haven't gotten to
roll?
influential friends in forever. I'm excited.
How about you roll about your influential friends, buddy? And just for flavor's sake, this is not representing her willingness to do this. It is representing the capacity of an undefined network to make your end result happen.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Okay.
I got double 9s. And then +3 is wow, what are words?
More than 15.
Yeah.
21. So yeah, it's a lot. Which, as we know, doesn't matter because as long as it's over 15, but it's always nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know what? What your lord finds for you is actually she says, I know who I want. I know who you made me think of, but I want to make some phone calls first before I commit, because I don't want to tell you that something exists that I can't get a hold of. So she makes a couple phone calls. It's very quick. She's very reactive. She is happy to be good at, she is happy to be skilled. She is happy to be connected. She is happy to be able to do these things in a straightforward manner.
Yeah.
She is pleased to be able to enact the soft power that she has had for 30 years, just doing it. She doesn't have to head game her husband into doing the thing that's smart. She just has to pick up a phone.
Yeah.
So she's perfectly content and happy. And when she calls back, she says, okay, there is a fighter that he used to cripple fighters he didn't like. He was the one that was brought in to fight the fight. You pay them too much money, you make it so that they can't say no, you bring them into the fight, and this guy takes them apart, cripples them, or just beats them so badly they never want to fight again. But I know what David is capable of, somewhat. And I do not perceive it as being that big of a challenge for David, but that is the best challenge I can find for him, short of, I don't know, calling the army and asking for some special commando, for a commando unit or something like that. But yeah,
I think that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Let me pull a name out of my skull for that guy that I just invented. Let's call him Marcus. I don't think I've used Marcus. We'll just call him Marcus for a name. And she says he's a big guy. I think she actually literally calls him a side of beef when she's describing him, so it's very much, someone interesting for David to fight.
Perfect.
And also, she thinks the guy's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
He reminds her far too much of her ex-husband. And so, she's very kind of oops, it would be super terrible if David killed him. That would be the super worst. I would cry forever. So it's definitely that, like, to her, there is no wrong answer in this.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Which is good, because our goal, like, he doesn't tell this to her, but, like, our goal is for David not to kill this person. But if accidents happen, at least it won't be terrible.
Yeah. Like, if David beats his ass all the way up next to his ears, no one's going to be mad.
Yeah. And that's sort of the goal, is, like, accidents happen. We don't want them to happen, but, like, let's cover our asses. So I think that works really well.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So, yeah, she says, I'll set that up. I know the people. I'll tell you where it is, and I'll maybe I'll spread the word.
Yeah.
Get the audience and the numbers a little higher. I know you don't need the money, but it's more fun to gamble when there's commas.
It's more interesting.
Yes. So. Yeah, so she's you can almost hear her kind of like doing the happy little shoulder bobble on the phone. But she wishes you very well, and the thing that she does is she begins and ends the conversation with extremely formal language.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what may I do for you, my king? Is there any service I may provide for you?
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle, it's business. It's modern, but there's a bookend of that formality.
I think that because of that, also, like, he does follow in kind, because he has, like, started to get, like, the idea, like, that this is also that words have meaning and words have power, and so he's probably starting it with, I have a request for you, my lord. I have a need. I have a request for you to do something, my lord.
Mm-hmm.
And then ending it with, you have done well, my lord.
And she is grateful. And the nice thing is that it's not a fawning, sycophantic grateful. It's, I know I'm good. I know I'm awesome. I know why I'm here, and I'm happy to do the thing that I'm here for. That, like, I am a skilled, competent person being skilled and competent on your behalf, and that is bitching. So,
yeah.
Because I refuse to let her have a bad day for the rest of this campaign.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One person gets a happy goddamn ending, and it's her.
Yeah. I think we're all on board with that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, do you give that information to Bethany?
Yes.
Okay.
And he can, like, I'm happy to, like, be in the scene with Bethany and doing stuff. I just didn't want to, like, take over too much space and time.
Okay.
So, like, I feel like Matthew would be with her, like, to tell David. He's just also, like, saying that, like, because of the fact that there's an understanding between her and David also, that, like, he wants her to also, like, participate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bethany, it's only really a couple of minutes. It's maybe 10 minutes at most, and you and Matthew filled it with small talk. You're siblings. You've got 1,000 little things that don't come up in the stream to talk about. I need to get a different pair of shoes, or I got to do this, or the shirt's not fitting right. I want to get it tailored. Like, all those little pieces of life that family talks about.
Mm-hmm.
That is more difficult to simulate in a role play scenario. You guys, have that time, but there is a moment in your mind, Bethany, that sours this experience where the color of the walls start to shift to like a reddish brick color. But it feels almost like something, like brick dust is like sinking through the wallpaper, If you've ever seen one of those vibratory finishers that has the sand that's solid and they turn it on and the stuff just drops into it because it's liquid, it's like that, but coming through the walls. And so there's this sensation and it's red, and all of a sudden your brain does this terrible twist. And it's like, you know what I mean? One of those like, oh, thank you for ruining my day.
Yeah.
Bacon, thanks.
Yeah.
And your interpretation of this is now that you're in a hospital waiting room.
Oh, I hate that.
But the worst part is that you're not in a new clean hospital. You're in like an asylum hospital waiting room. So it's the red brick, it's the turn of the century stuff. It is the waiting room of your nightmares.
Yes, it is. In fact, yes, it is.
And it is very extremely disconcerting to be sitting here in this moment, and then when David does his like knock knock and then opens the door,
full fucking startles.
Yeah.
No, because it's the orderly is coming in knock, and she is not happy until it's David, and then it's a little better.
There will be a moment, because we have talked about this before, that Matthew will put his hand on Bethany's and say, "What are you seeing?"
Hospital, asylum, waiting room, and they're coming in.
He will squeeze her hand, look her in the eyes, and say, "I see our hotel." Okay. And then he will let David in. Yeah.
Yes, the door opens, and the thing that is abundantly clear when the door opens is that David either heard or sensed some of the tension on the other side of the door, because he slides in that whisper smooth precision machine way that means that he is entirely on.
Yeah.
Looks around for a moment, sees you two, makes eye contact, still looks around the room very quickly and briefly, and then starts to de-escalate. Might be the good word. And the thing that's actually very disconcerting is, even though David is just, a handsome young man in a dress shirt, just very comfortable, almost arguably like super casual for the time, there is still a sound of metallic things sliding back into place that's audible in the room, like somebody just put 1,000 switchblades away. And he gives Bethany a thing that is supposed to be a smile, but is far closer to a primate's display of aggression, and says, "They're not coming for you, ma'am. I killed them all, remember?"
I know.
And he puts the cigarettes down.
Matthew will light up 2 cigarettes, because that's what we could do at this time period.
Yes.
Giving one to Bethany, and taking one for himself. He will offer one to David. They've had that experience before, like rarely, but like this is showing that he wants to actually have a conversation.
That's exactly what I was interpreting in my head. I was like, the "we need to talk" cigarette. Yes, very good. And David pauses, realizes that it's the "we need to talk" cigarette, and does the yes, the "we need to talk" cigarette. Takes it, either accepts the light or lights it himself, and then stands.
Yeah.
ever so slightly at attention, just a little bit, you know.
We were curious whether or not you wanted to fight again at the ring.
If they'd have me back, I'd be happy to.
They're interested.
Then I'm interested. Are you telling me that you want me to go fight, sir?
I am.
Are we putting on a show again, or is there a deeper purpose?
I would say yes to both. First, I wanted to show that was more interesting. So we're going to ask for their best fighter. Someone who was known for making it so that other fighters couldn't fight anymore.
I know the kind of guy.
We don't want him dead, but we want the fight to be definitive. Do you understand?
You want me to beat up the biggest guy?
Yes.
Okay, I could beat up the biggest guy. Does he have to be able to walk when I'm done?
No, we just want him alive.
All right, I can do that.
We know that we've had a lot of situations recently where we've asked for your help and it hasn't been able to be used. This is not one of those times. We're not going to bait and switch you, David.
Are you saying that you're taking me to the fights as a reward?
It's also useful. But do you not like fighting, David?
Oh, it's fantastic, Crack. I just wanted to make sure that I knew what we were doing.
Yes, then, essentially. We like you, David. You're part of us.
David does the thing with his face that is the masculine, this is the point where I might cry if I was not a man. Like he does that very distinct masculine face journey of that, just like, you know, press lips, nod.
Matthew knows conceal, don't feel.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he absolutely could. Yeah. And he nods. Says, then I'll break their biggest man for you, sir.
I look forward to seeing it.
So do I. Well, this shirt's too expensive to do that. And do you mind if I go back to my room and change?
Please do.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am.
Okay.
And he goes back to his room. I mean, he takes 5 minutes. It's just, you know.
Yeah.
It's...
Matthew basically spends those 5 minutes kind of just... I don't know how to make it, like, because it's so much of it is physical, so like it's a description aspect of this, but like kind of making things less hospital-y. And it's impossible to do that because this is in Bethany's mind. It's not in the actual room, right? But there's a level of like he gets them like drinks for the next 5 minutes. He like casually is opening the curtains, just to let the sun in. Like, sometimes you just want to just let the light of the night sky in. Like these little things and these little like aspects that like Bethany can tell what he's doing, and Bethany can tell that it's probably not helping. But like it's the aspect of wanting to do that and wanting to in some way help what can't be helped.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll chat, like he'll continue doing the like little sibling small talk that they do, while he's doing it, and being that sort of like casual talking, because they already did what was necessary, which was checking in. And so that's all that needs to be said, unless another check-in has to be done.
Yeah, no, say the casual talking is the thing that actually like helps most, because while she sees all the things that like Matthew is doing, they're all things that very gently can take on weird hospital tones, which is the really hard part. Is she's like, a drink, and her brain is like, ah, yes, medicine, and she's like, oh fuck. And then she's like, but the curtains, it's like, oh, it's an orderly thing, oh no. And so she's just the thing that's helping her ground like in reality more than anything else is very much the like all of the little tiny small talk of things that need doing or things that have done, or talking about places for Clara's review, or things that we've heard her talk about, or things that are very like family are the parts that like remind her of where she is and who she is with, and don't let her get lost in her brain.
Yeah. He also definitely mentions, I want to make sure that I'm getting her name right. Is it Elizabeth West Smith, or was it? Okay. He mentions like that his call went very well with Elizabeth, and that she seems to be settling in well. She's and when he does so, like, this is I think the first time that he's really used Elizabeth as her name as opposed to Mrs. West Smith. But like it's that sort of thing of like he's speaking of her as if she's unmarried. Is the best way that I can put it in that sort of time frame. And there's a casualness to it that's as if speaking of a friend, because the thing is, Matthew doesn't have, like, outside of his family, Matthew doesn't really have friends. And I feel like this is kind of the closest he's ever going to get, is the people that he is like king over, which is a whole thing that like he doesn't want to unpack right now. But, like there's a level there where he's like, oh, this is what having a friend that is not your family is like. Ah, yes, that's correct. She's of the same social standing of me, so like we're pals now.
Good old super healthy Matthew, I can't bond without a hierarchy Van Horst.
Yes, like 100%.
Bless his black little heart.
Yeah.
Just the worst.
All right. Well, from my side, I'm ready to go to the fights.
Yeah.
I think we're good as well.
No, you don't have to put the meat in a pumpkin if it needs by itself.
Wow. That's going on the quote board.
I need that. I need that I need that in a needlepoint next to my thanks I hate it needlepoint.
Oh, it's so good. Someone doesn't make a clip out of that, I'll be sad.
Okay, I have to tell you this because it's delightful and everyone involved in this will laugh. Someone, honest to God, Sean, sent me a thanks I hate it needlepoint. Like, I actually have one, and whenever I finish this space, I intend to put my back to the wall specifically so I can have it like sitting behind me, because that's where it needs to be. I just need to have "Thanks, I hate it" sitting above my shoulder. But yes, now you don't have to stuff the meat in the pumpkin if it moves by itself. Just okay. Bless. Boy, am I really glad this system doesn't have humanity scores.
Oh yeah, no. If we were using one of those, we'd be out.
Yeah, GAWN going.
Do they have paths for that?
All right. Anyway, on to the violence.
Yes.
So, very quickly. So there's a hiccup, but it's not a Van Horst side hiccup. As a matter of fact, it's a highly entertaining moment in the life of the Van Horsts, because essentially, over the oral network of 1957, so you've got some telephone calls, you've got some notes, you've got some people, running across hotels and giving information. The entire like underground violence network of Las Vegas just did the Morpheus is fighting Neo thing.
Nice.
Because David did beat that guy's whole ass only like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Only at most a month or two ago. Like it's still being talked about. So like the little skinny guy that beat everybody is now gonna fight fucking Marcus the ankle breaker. Like this is the fight to see. People have emptied out their bank accounts. People have called tabs due so that they have liquid capital to bet on this fight. You guys have accidentally, on purpose, created like a pay-per-view event.
Oh, this was absolutely on purpose, because
yes,
spectacle.
Spectacle. And so the hiccup is is that the normal place where these fights take place overfilled.
Oh.
So good news, bad news. It's overfilled, so they actually had to change venues. So now David and Marcus are fighting in the completed, unpowered, unfinished shell of a new casino.
I love it.
They're building 20 of them this decade. So I think Caesars is being built. Yes, fuck it. I don't care. I control the world. They are fighting. They're fighting in Caesar's Palace because Colosseum. Because I am a super cheap date.
Look,
and
you said Marcus. Did I think Marcus Aurelius? Yes, I did. Did I say anything until now? No.
No. Yeah. Memento mori. So yeah. And so it's kind of interesting because like the parking's not set up, because parking is usually one of the last things that happens when you're doing a construction build. So it's a lot of on street and a lot of this, that, and that, like there's like, but of course you can't be visible because the police are on the take. Yeah, but they're not 300 people in a construction site on the take.
Yeah.
Like that's a little bit much. So what has happened is that the underworld network has flown into action. Shock and awe. It's very service oriented in Las Vegas. And so what you have ended up with is an unofficial valet service. And that like a half a block from the hotel, where people are pulling up to the back of a restaurant that is owned by a member of the mob, and people are getting out like they're going to the restaurant, and then their cars are being driven somewhere else, and they're walking 20, 30 yards over here, through the back of the restaurant over here. And then like it's classic, but it's entertaining. So congratulations, you guys have accidentally made like the underworld social event of the year.
I'm gonna like capitalize on this later.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm here for it.
Yes. Now I feel safe in making the statement that Matthew has some amount of hard currency on his person at this point.
Just like a tidbit.
Just a skosh. Yeah. Just, it would be difficult to do because the math would be complicated, but I almost kind of like want to do all of Matthew's money spending as in like years of an average steel mill worker.
Oh.
Like I want the currency to be like 1 unit is the annual wage of a steel mill worker.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever.
It's so painful in my heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I mean, he definitely is, and he's pulling out the stops to make this a, like, yes, this is walkies for David. This is also a glad handing event. This is also him showing these underworld connections that he matters and the people that he knows matter. Like, and that, the first time that he came out here, his fighter surprised everybody. And now he's making like the underworld event of the year. And like, what does that mean? So that's definitely an aspect of this, even though like it's a smaller aspect than we're rewarding David, but like it's certainly a calculated decision as well.
And it is also clear that the spectacle does not negatively impact David at all.
Oh, good.
Okay.
There is absolutely. Normally, when he starts fighting, his motions become very efficient. Like his twitches and his tells, like everybody's micro expressions, they start to drop away. He becomes very still. All of his movements become directly related to the things he's doing. There are no extra ones. Except tonight, he actually has a swagger. Like as he grasps what's going on, as he realizes there's going to be a big crowd, there is a part of him that kind of like his shoulders get a little bit of a sway and his hips get a little bit of a swing. Like he's not full on cartoonish like Popeye walking. Yeah. But there's definitely I am going to beat the shit out of somebody in front of 500 people. Oh man, this is going to be so great. And that is when it strikes you as you walk, as you walk in, as you guys grasp the scope of what you've like accidentally on purpose created. That's when you realize how David's walking. He is walking like he's going to a restaurant. Like he's doing his like, oh good, my favorite steak place.
Good.
Yeah. Like if the door said Peter Luger on top, this would be the walk. Like that's his whole vibe.
Matthew puts a little tick in the it's more violence than murder column. He's like, oh good.
Yeah. So he walks in, there's people see you guys. It's a little close. There's a lot of those kinds of people around. And by those kinds of people, I mean not Van Horsts. I realize it a lot. I realized after I said it that sometimes that's used for POC. This is not those people. This is just not Van Horsts.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a lot of other people around. And however, Elizabeth meets you guys very, very shortly. And Bethany, this is going to be the thing that really tells you, like on a fundamental level, even though you've seen it a couple times lately, this is the thing that means everything is okay, like that she's going to be fine. She's holding a really nice clutch in one hand, and she does the hold the clutch, rave the other arm. She halloos, like she does the little arm. She does a little hand waggle. That the thing that in 70, 80 years would absolutely come with something like a hey girlfriend, like definitely like it's very vivacious. And she waves at you and does the like, I'm coming to you, don't move. Yeah. And in all of those one-handed hand gestures. And to the point where David even comments, it's like, she seems like she's in a good mood. Then she comes over, and the first thing she smiles at you, Bethany.
Yeah.
Gives you a big beaming smile, but in that, like, obviously, like, hi, yes, hello, but I also have to sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
And then turns around and very subtly and very smartly genuflects to Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's Matthew, not a lot.
Matthew definitely
very...
like does the acknowledgement, like sort of like head nod.
Yeah. We all know the thing. And she then says, welcome to the fight of the year, I guess. Congratulations, you're a boxing promoter. I'm a boxing promoter.
Deeply impressed with how quickly this was able to be put together.
Well, the thing is that, as I'm sure you know, that when multiple people realize that they can all make money at the same time and same place, they immediately begin working together incredibly well. So once, well, let's say that there are more than one high roller who also enjoys the fights. And once a couple of good big names came out that said that they would be coming tonight, and then they would be bringing their wallets. Once people really started understanding that there was real money to be made tonight, not just pocket change, people started working together. Got a lot of teamwork very quickly, and so here we are.
Matthew will actually look to see if the odds are posted. He's curious.
Yes. The odds are currently posted, and they are right now, like, I don't speak gamble, so I'm not going to try to put numbers on it, but they are firmly but not cartoonishly in favor of Marcus.
Nice.
It's he's the black fucking knight, you know. He's that archetype. He's the one that kicks everybody's ass.
Like, Matthew's kind of like, on the one hand, like, sure, pride, but on the other hand, there's a level of like, well, that's beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but yeah, sorry to derail. The thing, like, his eyes will go to look at them, but
Elizabeth comments and says that's in line with my expectations. David fought once and he did exceptionally well, and he left a fantastic impression. But Marcus has been crippling fighters for 15 years.
It was my hope.
Yeah. Now, sometimes, for circumstances like this, we will sometimes put on some pre-bouts. Maybe let the fighter show off a little bit with somebody who's nowhere near as good. Is that something you want to do tonight, or do you just want to keep things and then go straight to the main event?
How expendable are these people?
It can be as expendable as you want. Like, if you just want David to beat the whole hell out of somebody to mess with to change the odds, we can do that. Look, this isn't professional boxing. There are no judges, there are no points, there are no rules. Everyone is here for the show and for the money.
Will it be a problem if he kills someone?
Not if he does it in a way that looks like a fight.
I mean, it would be the fight.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, if he punches the guy in the face and the jaw and the guy falls over dead, that's fine. If David unscrews his head from his shoulders, that will be not fine.
Yeah. But
Matthew
the
will
former is
give
what I'm worried about than the latter.
Matthew does give a look to Bethany that's like, we are doing an experiment.
It's true. We're attempting to do an experiment. Bethany was more concerned about the first part because if they're like, "Do I do a show?" and I'm like, "You can totally McMurder somebody real quick."
Mhm.
Matthew will will kind of look at David to kind of get a feel for what he might want or not want regarding the having some pre-bouts.
Like,
He's just
yeah.
trying to get like a vibe,
he's thrilled. I mean, I assume that he's generally been within earshot. I don't see any reason for him to be held separate. So he understands the purpose and he's just like, sure, I can do that.
He'll speak up and say, the goal right now is not to have murder. Or is it for them he would say the goal right now is for them to survive.
Okay.
And he's saying that to Elizabeth, but we all know
He's saying that.
who he's really saying that to.
Yes.
Bethany just sort of nods with the emphasis of yes, the goal is that they are surviving. The reason I asked the question is that I'm genuinely concerned that they would not.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, that is easily done. And so, but of course, in fairness, in big air quotes, actually little T-Rex air quotes so they fit in the frame. Marcus also then gets a show-off bout. Matthew
actually prefers that because, again, in the end, yes, he wants David to have his cool moment. He wants to look cool himself, but he doesn't want the odds to go to a point where David's being favored. That's not good business for him.
Well, but
yes,
because he's going to be betting on David. He wants to have the lower odds.
You already bet. Those locked in. If everybody
okay
their money later, it's fine.
I don't know how gambling works.
I don't really either, but I'm pretty sure.
I'm trying my best.
Yeah, is there a fight promoter in the house? So there is a small hubbub because as this plan starts getting enacted, they take the odds down, and everyone's like, "What the hell? Like, what's going on? Why are what the whole fuck?" And there's an announcement there's going to be a couple of show-off bouts, beforehand. This is essentially, they're all like, "This is all late notice. You guys know how this works. None of us expected this to happen. We found out about this earlier tonight. You're just going to have to fucking deal with it. Do you want to participate in the underground fighting ring or not? Because then you gotta deal with seeing some of the wires." So the odds go down and there's some hubbub, and then two boards go up with David versus Nameless Schlub and Marcus versus Nameless Schlub. And everyone kind of goes, ooh, and then, odds go up in betting starts. Now, the odds in these two cases are functionally the same. The numbers are slightly different, but essentially it's everybody knows that David and Marcus are just going to absolutely decimate
these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matthew is not even betting on these because the odds are such that there's just no point.
Yeah.
He's happy to watch them.
So David is the first one to have his first bout. I'm going to roll some dice. He's going to win. I just want to know how he wins, and I want to add some randomization to that fact. Having rolled a 17, have you guys seen I think it's Snatch, the Guy Ritchie movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a scene where the fight starts in the whatever it was, Brad Pitt, I think, plays the character. He just walks up to the guy and just rings his bell and drops him.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a 3.5 second fight.
Yeah.
David does that, but before the 3.5 seconds of the actual fight, there is a solid like 3 to 4 minutes of David just very patiently taking this guy apart. Like, to the point where the guy actually starts to swear at David, like call him things that Ben will not say on this stream right now. He breaks out the entire 1957 swear word dictionary and uses it twice, once in reverse alphabetical order. Because David like goes into a boxing stance, they exchange some blows, and then David opens his fucking hands.
What a dick.
Yes. And like a cat with a mouse with a broken back, David slaps him. Like it is quite possibly the most demeaning thing anyone here has ever seen in public. Like this is like David should have just held him down and pissed on him at this point, because this guy is just being, and like smack, block, smack. And at one point, David even boops him, like one finger on the middle of the nose, just like ding. I could have knocked you out. You and I both know I could have knocked you out, but I'm not going to. So it takes a couple of minutes, and then the insults start getting, they start off with very basic things. References to his parentage, references to his sexual partners, references to the species of his sexual partners, da 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 da. And then, so this guy's just trying, like, apparently what this guy does is this guy talks a lot of trash and tries to get an opening from rage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a decent system for underground boxing. Like, you make your opponent pissed off, they're going to charge you or do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But David doesn't care, because David's going to David's. So
Yep.
he doesn't worry about it until you can't exactly hear what was said, because they're very close to each other, and it's kind of that, there's a lot of noise around, and it's kind of that low basso shit talking growl. But you hear something that could be words like boss, or you know, something like that, and then David's effect just goes completely blank, and he just closes his right fist and just punches him clean across the center of the face. Just one shot, right, you know, right here. Good night. Jaws broken in several places. There's probably damage, you know, around the ocular orbit. The guy probably won't hear out of that ear. But it's literally David's just like, this is fun. This is fun. This is fun. This isn't fun. Lay down. And lo and behold, the man layeth down. However, like, these guys knew what they were getting into. Like, when you're getting paid to be the chew toy of one of the major fighters, you know, there's no surprises here. And then, so David comes back. He's not even breathing heavy. Is he breathing? There's a certain stillness to him. And he just what he says is essentially, sorry, he said something mean about you.
No worries.
And then, like, you know, gets handed a towel and washes the blood, and probably like pulls a tooth out of his knuckle. Like. And then Marcus fights. Okay. this guy is like Ivan Drago from Rocky IV. He is just this ridiculously outsized slab of human. It's just muscles upon muscles, but not like cut. No, he's not here to show off. He is here to hurt people forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so his muscles are not defined, but they are extremely well developed. And he has that boxer's proportion.
Mm-hmm.
That is, of course, the different ways people develop their muscles creates different shapes on their bodies and different proportions of muscle. This guy is a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
There is still a leanness to him, but it is clear that this guy is exceptionally strong and big, and he has a good reach, and it makes perfect sense why this guy cripples fighters. And he cripples the guy. Even though this was clearly just a practice bout, even though there was nothing riding on this, the guy wasn't supposed to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a series. I mean, but this is a much more classic boxing match. Shots are exchanged until finally Marcus catches him on the jaw. Finally applies what should be a KO.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The guy starts to crumble, and then while he falls, Marcus stands on the inside of his knee. Oof. As he collapses and punches him in the head again. And the sound of cartilage delaminating from the bone is audible. The tendons have snapped. Ben doesn't fight. Ben may have described it to a physical impossibility, but the end result of the matter is that Marcus destroys the man's knee on purpose for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
Because pointless cruelty is the ultimate expression of power. And yeah, so that man is taken away. He will never fight again.
Mm-hmm.
He will never fight again. He will never walk comfortably again. It is 1957. This is not the year where you get your knee completely deconstructed and then have it heal. This is
No.
And so the odds go back up. They are generally unchanged. However, the thing that has erupted now is there are side bets about the way the fighters will be at the end of the fight.
Ooh.
So it's like, will David have any broken bones? Will so people are betting on knees, on wrists, on ankles, on necks and jaws. And a lot of it, and so there's a bunch of those on Marcus where essentially they're it's like a football, like you buy blocks,
mm-hmm.
For scores and things. It's essentially that, but like on the operation table, the game operation, where people are just betting on what parts of David Marcus is going to break. And there's a gleefulness to it.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's something in the air that is thrilled with the idea of not only big yawn, where there is not just gambling and the sweet science and all of the things about boxing that people use to pretend it's not gladiatorial. That veneer has been rubbed away, and these people are just betting on cruelty.
Mm-hmm.
They are just putting money down and being entertained by the acts of violence and vice that are held in front of them. Both of you recognize at least a couple faces from the high rollers table at the Tropicana. So you do know that there is big money here. And they actually, one of them actually sees you and doesn't come over and say hello. You guys don't know them well enough for that, but you do get the like, I recognize you from another place where wealthy people go. Hi, very most interesting man in the world, sort of, eyebrow waggle and cup raise.
So the more that like cruelty is shown as like an expression of power, an expression of vice, the more like Matthew starts kind of giving into his specific expression of vice and power, which is the idea of the things that I own are better than you. Like that sort of like level of like pride that he has in having David, in his utter certainty that David is going to win this fight, and his utter certainty that the people like who think that he would ever fall, like, are incorrect, like absolutely starts kind of becoming visible in him because of that sort of aspect. And it's not like he's like strutting, but like the people who know him, like the people like David, the people like Bethany, the people like, quite frankly, Elizabeth, can tell that sort of aspect is sort of coming over him. And I don't say this in a way to try to act like this is a better thing than the people whose vice is cruelty, because it is a inherent like aspect of the idea where it's not that he has any problem with the cruelty. It's that he's like, oh, the peasants think they can like say that my knight is not the most perfect knight. How cute is that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, they are going to be schooled. And like, I mention it just because of the fact that, like, for the people who know him, it's so clear, even though, like, he's just standing. He's just doing his thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Bethany has not quite taken on the, like, it'd be totally fine if that dude dies vibe, but it's so close.
There is no rational possibility that will cost you exactly one single instant of sleep.
No.
Like you're gonna go back to the hotel and you're gonna get in bed like it's Christmas Eve. Just like
she's like, it's an experiment, so we know if it's violence or murder. That's the only reason this guy shouldn't die. That's it. For our own personal gain and knowledge, that's the only reason we're trying to answer a question.
Yep.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that's literally stopping her from being like, David, it's fine if he dies.
I'm sorry, David. He's the control group. I'm sorry.
we just gotta do the control group.
We gotta. Sorry.
Yeah, here for being proud of people that you own. That's always a fun way to feel. So yeah. Is there anything else you want to do before we start narrating the fight?
The biggest thing, I think I already did it, but I want to like reiterate that like I am laying down a very large bet, and like I know that we're always like the Van Horst just have stupid amounts of money anyway, but like there's an aspect there also of like showing David that like that is how he sees him, which is worth the risk of such a bet.
Okay. Yeah. So, what kind of, let's just vamping for a minute. What exactly kind of side bets do you think are being made on David's behalf? Like you've essentially got the mangle betting for Marcus. What kind of betting do you think that David, what some of these unofficial weird side bets would be?
I think one of them would be what will get David to lose his cool, because they've seen it once, right? They've seen that it's possible to make David kind of like go from, oh, I'm having fun to, no, this is serious now. And there's a question of like, how soon into the fight do we think that Marcus will be able to make David lose his cool? I feel like is a probable one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would really go for how long is the fight gonna last?
Yeah,
In a
that
way
one
of like
too.
not it's like, oh, it's this many rounds but specifically for David of like, oh, he's gonna win. And it's like obviously he could have won in the second round, but he's lasted till the seventh because he's just fucking with this guy. Like that
Yeah.
amount of like, how long does David prolong his win? I would say is sort of that in the realm of time.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's watch a fight.
Yeah.
Any last words for David before he goes in there and we see what happens?
Bethany's not allowed because she just wants to tell him it's fine if this guy dies.
Bethany, no.
No, she's literally like refraining from sending David last words because it would just be permission to murder.
Matthew doesn't give words, but he gives the shoulder squeeze. You know, the shoulder squeeze, like the like
Yeah.
shoulder squeeze, nod, go sort of thing.
David's response to that is actually unexpectedly complicated.
Interesting.
Like, there's definitely a lot of like, yes, you know, he's told me to do a good job, but we're not in that place where he can say things like that out loud. That's not what you say in this moment at this social gap. That's not what you say.
Yeah.
But there's also this really interesting flash of like very well contained discontent.
Interesting.
Like that gave him a 90% positive, 10% negative feeling.
We'll have a conversation about this later, Mr.
But it's it clearly he strives to hide that.
Yeah.
He doesn't, you know, whatever just went through his head, it's not something he wants to talk about, especially not right now.
I mean, absolutely not right now. And like Matthew certainly doesn't react to it here.
Mm-hmm.
Other than to squeeze slightly harder and then like let him go.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's Bethany, it's Elizabeth, and it's Matthew, like generally all next to each other. Are you letting Elizabeth on the inner circle of the conversation at this point, or do you kind of keep her at a pace apart?
Unless Bethany implies through like body language that she would want otherwise, Matthew's actually going to use Elizabeth to bracket Bethany so that people don't get too close to her, because he knows that Bethany doesn't like being crowded in.
Yeah, no, that's a perfectly acceptable use of her.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like Elizabeth, Bethany, you know, Matthew.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the skill sets that someone who has had the life that Elizabeth has is that they are exceedingly good at talking about everything that isn't the thing. So her ability to talk to Bethany about everything that isn't the thing, trademark, is exceptionally well polished.
Yeah.
So she engages Bethany in some very light conversation about completely pointless fripperies.
Yeah.
And if I go too far in the monologue and you guys want to do something, just stop me.
Yeah, we can like raise a hand or something.
Yeah. So the thing that starts to happen as the real fight starts to draw closer is that the energy starts to change. The first two fights were almost like how would it feel to your characters? 1957. It almost felt like World's Fair exhibitions, or it was very detached. Like, yes, very interesting. What compelling developments? Good, new information. Yes, I shall return home with this new knowledge. This is like rock show. This is the entertainment. This is the main event. This is to use some non-organic references for David's sake, like this is the moment where the first monster truck revs its engines and the whole crowd starts to get really excited because they hear that the things are happening, or the drag cars start to ramp up. So it's very exciting. And but both of you, I'm just going to give this to you for free. Both of you do get that vibe of consumptive hunger. Like there's a lean forward, either physically or mentally or both, in a lot of these people, where they're excited to see the bloodshed. They're excited to see it. And part of it is also because everybody here knows that this isn't necessary. So once again, there's this intrusive, using that word on purpose, invasive, using that word on purpose, Kate, sense that there is a cruelty here that is something new, something stronger. You felt this a couple times in your life, but the richness of it is new. And exceedingly disquieting. And so when the fighter, so the place where they are fighting is eventually going to turn into the main gambling floor of the hotel. So it is very big, plenty of space. But what's interesting about this place and the way they picked it is that because the gambling floor is actually like 3 stairs down from, because then you have all of the different parts of the floor that get you to restaurants and bathrooms and coat checks and entrances. All of that stuff is slightly higher. But the gambling floor is ever so slightly sunk down, of course, because what is more compelling when you are walking past, seeing the backs of a table or seeing the cards spread out like a dancer in front of you? You're not here for the hairstyles of the players. You're there for the goods. And so once again, the goods are on display here. And David comes out, and you're almost grateful for this little cocksure wobble that he has, because it keeps his mechanical stillness hidden. You know, because if David just walked out with his arms at his sides, not breathing, completely flat face,
it'd be a little awkward.
Yeah. People get grumpy when they don't get a show that they were promised. So David comes out, his sleeves are rolled up, I assume, I'm going to say that he came in with a shirt and with a jacket and tie, because one does. Took off his jacket, took off his tie, unbuttoned his shirt a little bit. You see a doubled set of dog tags. I just have one as a prop from another game, but it is a doubled up set of dog tags. And I remind you, Matthew, again, that those dog tags behind the illusion are melted into his chest in the center of a handprint of yours. And so he comes out and he kind of, I'm not saying that he checks his fingers, but he does. He just kind of feels his hands around and does just some getting ready to throw a whole shitload of punches sort of thing. And people cheer. there's some jeering. There's no booing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that like, this guy's gonna get his ass kicked, a sort of style to it, and a very brief frenzy of betting. And then Marcus walks out, and Jesus, this guy is so big. Capital S, capital B. He is so big. And David is just a normal human, like, 5'9", 5'10". He's not, he is not large. And so there's just, and like when he kind of pushes through the crowd, because he's coming from over here, but people are, it's an unofficial event. There are no velvet ropes. So he does have to do a little bit of a, hey buddy, let me through sort of push. Both of you guys roll like enhanced awareness or something somewhat like that.
Like magical intuition?
Magical intuition would be great.
Cool, that's what we both got. Plus soul, right?
Yeah.
Plus soul is a 13.
13 as well.
So I rolled a 9.
Twinsies.
13.
Magical intuition. Enhanced awareness. Magical intuition. 13. Chooses 2 options. Learn something about a creature's true nature, learn if something has a magical nature, or learn where the illusion is weakest towards other dimensions. I'm going to presume that at least one of those is going into a discover the creature's true nature. And
yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. It is.
Bethany's interested in that whole invasive feeling situation.
Yeah. That's why I feel like that makes sense.
That's where Bethany's focus is. Excuse me?
That's fine. I'm sorry. I spoke for you and I shouldn't have done that.
No. It's correct.
So, Matthew, the thing that this guy is, it is not a human. The thing that comes that is hidden behind this illusion is a bio or is a like necro-mechanical walking torture machine.
You're talking about Marcus?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is not Metropolis flavored. This is not weird technology and magic and the transcendence of the human form. This is way over here in Clive Barker concept art land.
Ooh.
Like its pectoral, like its pectorals are exposed, and so all of the muscles across its body are exposed, and they're super duper bulked to the point where their muscle fibers are like as big around as a sausage.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very gross. Its neck goes kind of like all the way up to behind its ears.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything. Its eyes, its 2 teeny tiny little sunken like piggy eyes are set in these big thick ocular orbits, and its mouth is a grill, and it only has 3 fingers and a thumb, and it only has 4 toes, and it's the thing that you almost hate out of everything else about this thing, Matthew, is the big thick dirty iron ports that are like stapled into its skin, where somebody somewhere at some time in this creature's existence plugs it into something. Like you recognize they're like industrial like hoses almost. But this isn't just some creature that crawled out of the murk of some other alternate reality, of some other like fucking corner of the universe that's been untended. Somebody cooked this thing up.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly what Matthew's about to do is a question as well as a statement, and he will lightly spell out on the back of Bethany's hand Inferno.
Big nods.
Okay. And now we'll see what Bethany sees. But like,
Yeah.
he's getting a vibe here.
That's the whole ass vibe that she got from the first part of that part.
Yup.
Yup.
Bethany, the house you grew up in was a house on the edge of places. It was on the edge of a beautiful, deep, dark forest. It was on the edge of the metropolitan area of Pittsburgh. It was also on the edge of Metropolis. For a very long time, the people that lived in that house were loyal to a metropolitan cult. And they were magically active. And so there was a connection to the first and last city. But there was an invasive presence at home too, the result of the kind of the psychic dimensional scar tissue of the retributive attack that hurt your father and eventually led to his untimely death. And it has always felt like an invasive presence in your mind, and it is that feeling again, that sense of something pushing in. You know, not nibbling in, not decaying its way up, but a sense of some whole thing kind of trying to force itself in to reality through the mouth. It's like a whole person is trying to climb into this world through your mouth. And there is only one place that you have ever even briefly experienced that is that level and that invasive, awful vibe, and that is Inferno.
Yep.
The bad place. In as much as we could argue that Metropolis is the good place, ? Ellipsis. But
yeah, nope. There's a big nod from Bethany of, yep, that's the Inferno vibes.
David tilts his head to the side like an RCA dog. And then watching the excitement fade from his face, watching the swagger leave his body, he rotates. He does not turn. He rotates on his heel and turns to look directly at Matthew.
What is the like? Can I tell like which type of expression this person is making? Because like, I can't tell whether or not it's I came here to have a good time and I'm feeling really attacked right now, or if it's like, now can I kill him? And I don't know which it is.
Okay, kind of, sort of both, but. Imagine if David said, I came here to have a good time and I'm feeling so attacked right now, with a really big grin on his face. and then that just like...
Matthew just kind of looks at Marcus and then looks at David and nods.
Yes, good.
Yeah, like he's like, yeah, we gotta have it. We'll do the experiment some other time.
And so David's face was very carefully blank. You can almost get the sense of David looking at you through the visors of like a full face helmet, where only you can see are his eyes. And then you give him that nod, and it's like the visor has peeled away from his face. Because he smiles, and the smile is with teeth slicked with blood and oil. And his eyes gleam in the back like a cat's, but with the lemon lime green of uranium glass under black light. And David turns and looks at Marcus, and they stare at each other. And they realize there's that moment of connection. That place where the illusion has torn ever so slightly from the energy here, and these two unhumans looking at each other, and they realize each other is not a human. And in David, there is a joyousness to it. Like he kind of spreads his arms out a little bit in a kind of like a come on then, come on if you're coming sort of gesture. But when Marcus starts stalking forward, it is with the pace and tempo of a person who is intending to stomp a cockroach out. He is not here for a fight. He is here for pest control. He is disgusted by David. He considers him only a thing that he needs to crush and then go back to his day. And Bethany, I will give this to you because you are standing next to them. What you did not realize until this moment is that Elizabeth can see it too. And those Metropolis chrome eyes are very wide. The eyes that you gave her, Matthew, are very, very wide.
So Bethany is going to lean over and be like, no, it's okay. That's real.
And whatever East Coast accent that I'm not going in this moment to attempt to recreate, but Elizabeth's hometown accent comes out and is just like, that's supposed to make me feel fucking better? Like,
eventually, yes.
Yeah, eventually.
So as Bethany is someone who speaks from experience.
Yeah.
I just told her all those things were real so long ago.
And when they meet, okay, so in the illusion, because this illusion is only tearing for a very few people and only in very select ways, the machines of the lie work very hard here. And so when these two make contact in the illusion, it is the beginning of a fight that is barely a boxing match, because it starts off hands up, chin down, hands up, very classic fisticuffs sort of thing. And then very quickly it devolves. Or does it evolve? Either way, there is a transformation as this fight goes very quickly, where then there are arm blocks, there are elbows being thrown, there is a knee rising up as these two brawlers, as these two breakers start going round. And in the truth, behind the torn illusion, the creature that is Marcus, we'll just call him Marcus because it's easier this way. Marcus's muscles are swelling and bunching unnaturally, and you can see the muscle fibers clench, and it's almost like someone has made his cells so big that they're visible to the naked eye. You can almost watch like the things inside these muscle cells move. They're so big. And he swings with incredible force. He responds, but it is clear that what this thing is used to doing is just simply being unhurtable. There is a willingness to take shots, to exchange shots that it has that David doesn't. Mm-hmm. David understands that this thing is a problem. But this thing has quite not... He sees something about David. Is that the new one?
No, this is Ziggy.
Okay, hi Ziggy.
Black Void baby.
Okay. Yes, it's now officially a Wrath and Tear stream. Everybody loves the cats. They're great.
They're good babies.
Yeah. So, Marcus lands some shots. David lands some shots. you're not entirely certain what Marcus sees in David, if Marcus can actually fully pierce the illusion himself, other that he can just tell that the illusion is weak, both in and around David. Because the thing that happens that he has not done in front of you before, and a thing that is terrifying and new, is that David takes off his illusion.
Like, to everybody else?
No.
Oh, good.
On some internal level, he takes off his illusion and hangs it up like it's a winter coat. He doesn't tear it from himself. The mental action that does it is very smooth and practiced and accepting. This is, and what David is underneath this is the nightmare of war 100 years from now. He is matte powder-coated metal and brass and chrome. He is carbon fiber. He is synthetic diamond and depleted uranium. He is radium-impregnated glass. He is death by industry.
That's our boy.
My heart.
He is not the nightmare of generals. He is the sleep paralysis demon of Boeing, General Electric. What is it? Northrop Grumman, of Krupp, of all of these, not the generals, but people who have devoted their lives to the mechanical perfection of the annihilation of mankind. It is, and Van Horst Industries, to be honest, he is that. And the raven tattoo that was across his pectoral now is still on his chest, but it looks like a stencil and spray paint job. Like, it's still there and it is a part of him, but it is now like changed to match the tank-like, the bomber-like vibe, and in the middle of his chest is still that molten handprint. And underneath one rib cage, there is a KULT 1911, or something that is the rabid mescaline dreams of a KULT 1911, where a lung should be. And when this creature swings and makes contact, David deflects. David wears armor. David understands the exchange of force for power. And so he's hit several times, and frankly, a couple of times they've been fucking belters. And the way they hit is so resoundingly heavy and hard. It is like David is being punched with your forging machines, the giant hydraulics that reach up into the ceiling of a 3-story building. The way it sounds when David gets hit, it is a sound like that. But usually he tries to avoid those straight-on hits and take them on the arms, on the shoulder, deflect, turn his head, let it slide along his jaw. And eventually there is a point where Dave starts to have blood on him. But it is the creatures. It is Marcus's. Now, David is dribbling something that isn't red from his nose, because one of the shots he did endure was a mathematically perfect, like, draw a picture of it in a book, left jab that landed directly on his nose. And the illusion of his nose is broken. David's nose is fractured, misaligned. Let's not worry about the technicalities of how David works. And it is more or less a fair fight until there is a moment where things change. Now, the thing about the industry war, the thing about the factories that make war, is that there is a load time. Sometimes it's called a tooling time, because making tools is part of the process of preparing a place for production. Everything that you use to make the thing you're actually making is called a tool, so it's a weird umbrella phrase. The tooling up time, there's always this time where you have to figure out how you're going to do the thing that you want to do, and then put things into action and develop, and then you're ready to go. So there's a bunch of extra effort that goes into getting ready. And apparently David's tooling time is done. Because his skin scintillates into this. Your first thought, as absurd as this thought is, your first thought is that David has grown fur, because his outline blurs. There's an odd breakup in his very clean lines. And then when this inferno meat Hulk swings at him, David responds not by punching back, but just by running his hand up the thing's arm as it goes past, almost like a fast forward, like a lover at 150 miles an hour. But wherever David's hand passes, there is nothing but ruin behind it. The muscle tissues, now the exposed metal support structures on the inside of this thing's body, are just flensed away by the macro scale shark skin like grating, shredding blades that his skin has developed in response to his foe. And the creature screams. It screams through that implanted face mask, and you can watch blood and froth come from it. And this is the end. The rest is done in way. David takes a few more shots, and now he is swaying like Ricky Tikki Tavi, very patiently getting ready to kill, because he is taking shots in there, sliding across his skin, and everywhere this monster touches, it is ruin. Because this is what happens when you touch David. You are ruined. Until finally, in one spot, the monster's hand comes across and he punches David in the chest, and David takes it, like he leans forward into it, almost as if he was accepting a blessing. But the damage done was so severe that when the creature hits him, his arm crumbles all the way up to elbow in this just collapse of flesh. He was so deeply shredded on the inside that he didn't realize it. And his arm collapses and it staggers forward. And then all of a sudden, from David's left hand, there are 5 gleaming claws of radioactive green. And he digs up behind the creature's grill. And you could... The worst part of this moment, this is the part that's going to stay with you for a period of time, is that David's hand is so deep into this thing's skull that when he moves it around in there, you can watch the back pressure like make its eyeballs do weird things. Like all of the soft tissue inside its ocular orbits like kind of wiggle and pulse a little bit, almost like a cat in a bag. And then David just pulls back. And in his hand is the metal breathing grill. And behind it is ruin. It's just gone. And the crowd is silent. And the illusion returns. And there is David. Like Samson holding a jawbone. And Marcus sways on his feet and collapses. And we're at a different crowd, a different night, a different place, a different vibe. Maybe in this one particular moment, in this one instance of your life, you are thankful for the touch of Inferno. Because in this moment, the crowd erupts in joyous cheers. Hats are thrown in the air, like betting stubs are thrown, some money gets thrown. Money is being thrown at David. It's inconsequential sums to you, but money is being thrown at David. There's several fights immediately break out over this. It is an eruption of violent, of I've used it a couple times and we'll keep using it, like the ugly nightmare of the Roman Colosseum happens here. And David is holding the jawbone, and he does something very, very weird with it. He turns it over and he carefully pulls the meat out from the inside and runs his finger along the inside of the mandible, like he's looking for something. And when he doesn't find it, he smiles and throws the jawbone on the body.
Bethany has seen the expression on Matthew's face before. This very specific expression. And the last time that she saw it is when he saw the atomic testing. That look of awe and beauty that comes from, like, we can make this destruction. We can make something this...
We can do this.
Like, we can do this. And he doesn't activate the actual power, because he's not trying to use the effects of the power.
Okay.
But there is a part of the divine ability that just, like, is in his eyes at this moment as he is watching it, because this is Metropolis. This is the Van Horsts. This is what, like, there's a part of him in this that, even with the horror of, like, this person got decimated, but the victory of Metropolis over the Inferno is what he is at this moment, when tensions are high, when people are erupting into the Inferno's violence around him. That is what he is focused on.
Okay. Do you say something? Because it sounds like you were setting yourself up to say something.
The thing is, does David come back up?
For David does.
Yeah.
In this,
I want to.
In Matthew's eyes, Bethany leans over and says, "Buy into this casino. I think we just consecrated it." I know,
Yes.
David, back here. But yeah, that's her only feeling.
Nope. Like he looks absolutely. He's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say is that when David finally comes up, Matthew's response to him, to all of this, is with a complete lack of fear because he's riding high on some stuff going on right now. He puts his left hand directly on David's chest. It's in the glove still, but like it's that hand where his handprint, he knows his handprint is.
Yeah.
And he looks straight at him and says, I could not trust anyone to do what you just did more.
When Matthew put his hand on David's chest, David grabbed his wrist.
Ooh.
Not combatively.
Okay.
In a way that is almost desperate. He grabs his wrist and presses it closer to his chest. Like he wants that contact. And he said, I could never have trusted anyone else to do that. And he says, then knight me. And it all makes sense.
Yep. Like that's where it like clicks for Matthew, and he's like, oh. And he will
then knight me.
Yeah, he will, because of the fact that we're in a place where like right now, I don't think anyone's like there's a lot going on. Matthew looks at David and he pushes on his chest with the hand so that David kneels.
Don't go too far because we want to wait for Clara for a lot of this.
Yeah, he like pushes like down so that he kneels and says, I think we should talk at home. Because I can't do it right. If you want me to wait for Clara, we can do that.
Yes. Yeah.
So what I'm going to say is he will push him down to a kneeling position. He will look David in the eyes and he will say, a ceremony this precious must be done at home.
David nods. He is too overcome to speak.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And then he will let him stand.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. I want Clara to be able to be there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And David actually, for probably the first time in his service, just simply says, excuse me, and walks out. Like, clearly just feeling a lot of things, and
Matthew is not going to ever follow a man who's like, I'm having a lot of feelings, out of the room. He's like, no, I understand. Sometimes you gotta have those feelings away from other people.
Yeah.
Conceal, don't feel.
Yeah. Feel in concealment, possibly.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that, and with us picking up when we can have it as the full family.
Yeah.
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 So David walks out. Do you two want to exchange any words before you do the unimportant parts of collecting money that doesn't matter and going home?
I think that Matthew just uses his right hand to hold Bethany's just for like a moment.
Yeah.
And that sort of moment of like, oh, I think I get it now. And like also that sort of like solidarity feel of like having gone through this experience together.
Yeah. Yeah. Bethany is definitely like just in the like, that was good. I'm glad we did that. I'm glad that we're the ones who have this space now, kind of, I think, because I feel like we just did a thing. But also the like, Bethany's like, when David, like, it's just in her face and she's not saying any words, but it's like, when David's ready, we GTFO. We get out. This was a very simple
absolutely
thing.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Done now, big crowd. Like, yeah.
Yes. And even though David didn't do it on purpose, even though everything David did was generally okay, and your guys' response to what David did was also perfectly fine, what that means is that when a shortish, blonde-haired woman walks out of the back of that Colosseum, no one sees the second Bethany that would know anything about what happened. So also, there's a Patreon. If you are a worker that has access to podcasts more than you have access to videos, the Patreon does give you a RSS feed with damn near every show on TTRP Theater in a edited podcast form, including all of Wrath and Tears and the Red Intermission and a bunch of other shit. So, if you need more of us in your ears, there is an option. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for us. And we'll see you when we see you. So remember, safety mechanics are for you. Safety mechanics are for everybody at the table, including the GM. And please take care of yourselves. You're worth the effort. So thank you and good night.